Listen, John Holiday, fantastic countertenor. And we're going to talk about what that means to some of our non-opera aficionados out there. But he is one of the best on the whole entire planet. And I'm so excited to talk to him tonight on Black Opera Film Live. Every Monday here at 7 p.m., I'm talking to some of the finest Black opera singers in the world. And they also happen to have been donors to the Seed campaign for the film Black Opera that we're making about these legendary operatic stars, George Shirley, Simon Estes, Leontine Price, Jesse Norman, Martina Arroyo, and Grace Bumbry, that sang their way to stardom through ups and downs, through the civil rights movement, through all of it, and triumph still. And so we stand on their shoulders, and we are so, so grateful to be able to celebrate them in this way. So let me tell you about my guest today, John Holiday. John Holiday. Okay, let me tell you what the critics are saying. The streets are talking about John Holiday. John Holiday has quickly established himself as a fast-rising singer to watch, one of the finest countertenors of his generation. Now, that's what the LA Times said. Now, I said it too, but the LA Times said that. Then they say his voice has been praised as a thing of astonishing beauty. Now, the New Yorker magazine said that. I said it too, but the New Yorker put it in print here. Then someone else says, arrestingly powerful, secure, and dramatically high. The Wall Street Journal said that. I said it too, though. And then exceptional and strong, even in its highest range. The New York Times said that, but I said it too. Now, John Holiday is singing Baroque operas, standard operas. He's creating works in brand new operas. He's a consummate recitalist, a concert artist, a regular with symphonies. He is just fantastic. And I'm so excited to talk to him tonight and share him with you. So will everybody do a social media round? Guest Don Holiday. Come on in the room, John. Hi, friend.
Hello.
How are you?
I am great. I love that introduction.
Listen. Do you get like me, like when I hear my bio being read by someone, I'm like, who is that? Who are they talking about?
I do. It happens, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Mostly it's just because when you're on the journey, you don't have time sometimes to. Well, you don't. You don't really have time to stop and look around and smell the roses. You kind of are on it, and you keep on going. But
Yeah.
every now and then, when I get to hear that, and sometimes when I read my stuff, I'm like, you know what? I have done a lot of stuff, and I'm just thankful to God that it is all
Thankful.
going well.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Black Opera Film Live.
Yay! Hey!
You're actually my first male guest.
Yay!
Yes. So I dedicated the whole month of June to the ladies. And now my whole month of July is for the fellas. And you are the first. You are the first. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Welcome,
me.
welcome,
Now,
welcome.
can I have a drink on here?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm having champagne for you.
Oh, come on, champagne.
Okay.
Champagne, you know. Ta-da, la, 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 la.
Okay.
Come on, champagne. I love it. So, listen, I got to know your name through my fantastic friend, tennis partner, and recital collaborator, Kevin Miller.
Yes.
And so Kevin and I, we've been making music for years.
Yeah.
And I just adore him. And whenever I can and have him play, that's who I want and I need.
To me, there's nobody better.
Nobody better. Nobody. He's just
better.
a one-man orchestra. He's just so fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But then he told me, he was like, are you sure the date that we have doesn't conflict? Because I have a concert with John Holiday. I was like, who? I'm not sharing you with who. So of course I went to the computer. Who
Mhm.
is? And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay, go ahead. Just come back, but go
yeah.
ahead.
I give him back. I give him back.
It's so
Yeah.
fantastic to have you here. So
Thank you.
tell us for the non opera aficionados out there, what your voice is, what it means,
Hmm.
because we hear soprano, mezzo, contralto, tenor, bass
Hmm.
baritone, and all the
Yeah.
concoctions in between. But then we have the countertenor.
Yeah.
Tell us what that is.
The countertenor voice, in all, for all intents and purposes, is a male voice, or traditionally male voice, or someone who identifies as male, singing in the treble range. So from contralto, from to mezzo to soprano, you have those distinctions. And I think in the last couple of years, I'll say the last 10, 15 years, what's been really cool to know about it's so warm in here, my glasses are fogging up. What's been so cool to know about our voice is just as multifaceted as any other Fox. We have so many variants within our voice type, and the more and more that we begin to see different singers of all hues, we are noticing that the voice is it's just as different and multifaceted and complex as every other voice type. So yeah, that's basically it. And we sing music that is traditionally written from the Baroque period, so like the 1600s to the 1750s, and then
Hmm.
we take a big jump, and then we go into modern music and things like that. So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the layman's, explanation.
Now, were you always a countertenor? Are people born as countertenors, or are they turned into countertenors, or both?
I feel, hmm, I guess you could say both. I'll say both. For me, I always tell people that I was always a countertenor, and then for 1 year I dabbled as a tenor. Because in
Aha.
high school, my freshman year of high school, I was a soprano, and then the sopranos in my choir got really mad because I was getting some of the solos. So my teacher, my junior through senior year, she was like, "We're gonna move you to the tenor one section because the notes in the tenor one section are really high and nobody can sing them except for you. So we're gonna move you there." But that was probably her way of like making me like trying to disarm me to do it, because I was like, I'm not gonna be anything but a soprano. I remember saying that, but I did that, and then I went to college as a tenor, and then the ending of my freshman year, going into my sophomore year, I transitioned to be a countertenor. So I've always been, in my mind, a countertenor, especially from church all the way up to
Uh
college. I always sang with the sopranos, always. But I definitely think you can train if you have the facility, and it doesn't hurt or it's not uncomfortable. Yeah, why not try?
huh. Yeah, it's interesting because before puberty came, I was a soprano.
Hmm.
And then puberty hit and I became a baritone, like within the span of a week. It was
And aren't
crazy.
we thankful for puberty coming and you becoming a baritone, because you're one of the most beautiful voices that I have ever heard.
Oh, you're
Really,
too kind. Too
really. No,
kind.
I mean it. So, yeah.
Thank you, thank you,
Hmm.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So, where did you grow up? Was
Hmm.
music a part of your family? Was classical
Hmm.
music a part of your family?
Hmm.
How did this bug get to you?
I have always been around music. My grandmother was the music minister of my church, and everything that Big Mama did, I wanted to do. I was lucky in that I always sang. So from the very moment that I could sing, I sang in church. And she would put
Hmm.
me on top of tables and pianos, and I would sing in church with the adult choir. I don't even remember. And we had a children's choir at church. I'm sure I sang with the children's choir, but I don't remember it. I remember always singing with the adults because I was like, I'm gonna sing with them. And my grandmother was like, he gonna sing with y'all. So I sang with the adult choir, and we didn't really hear classical music in my home growing up. That was something that was very uncommon until I became a part of a boys' choir. I'm gonna take my glass. I was trying to be cute, but I'm gonna take these glasses off because they're fogging up. I can't be cute and then not be able to see you. But
You still cute though. You still cute.
thank
It's
you,
fine.
thank you. And so in this boys' choir, I was really exposed to classical music. And then it was from being in the boys' choir that I really started having so much more exposure to it. Is where I first saw Denise Graves, who was the first professional opera
Mm.
singer that I ever saw. And I was like, oh, whatever she's doing, that's what I want to do. But now that I sing opera and classical music, my family will listen to it, but they only listen to it if I'm in it. So that tells you, like, my
Yes.
family is strictly like, no, we like it, but we
But
want to hear you sing. So, but I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to change that in our family, in our communities. I feel like opera is an accessible art form, as you
hmm
do. I know you feel the same way, and I'm trying my best to demystify it among communities of color, but especially in the Black community, because I think that it is closer to us than we think it is. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
It really is. It really is.
yeah.
That's amazing. So, where did you grow up? What city? What town? What?
All right, that's right. I was born in Houston, Texas, H-Town,
Okay.
also the Sigmas. I'm a Sigma.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and then I was raised in Rosenberg, Texas, which is like a
Uh-huh.
suburb of Houston, about 40 miles, maybe less than that, maybe 40, 35 miles. I can't remember, but it takes me like 25, 30 minutes because I drive really fast. So I don't know to get to the center of Houston. But I grew up out there. I went to all the town schools out there, and I was in church all the time because Big Mama was a music minister. And not only
Uh-huh.
was she a music minister, but she played everywhere. She played at every church that I could think of. I was like, oh, going from church to church to church to church. And in addition to being a teacher. So she was a fantastic teacher and a fantastic church musician, and singer. I always tell people, I was talking about this just yesterday with the current dean of the school where I teach at. I was like, everybody always thinks I'm an incredible singer, and I thank God for it. I said, but if they had heard my grandmother, they would know where
Mm.
I get it from, because she, to me, she was the blueprint that I wanted to emulate. I wanted to be like her in every way. And
Yeah.
she always tells people now, well, he sings. I can't sing like that. I can't play the way he plays, but I learned it from her. So, yeah.
So, did you pick up playing from her too? Did you always play? Or...
I'll tell you, my grandmother was very strict. She didn't have to be strict with me. My grandmother could look at me and I would start crying. I mean, because I really wanted to please her in every way. I was just like, whatever you say, Big Mama, I'm going to do it. I've always been a teacher's pet. I've always been like, I wanted to make sure everybody was happy. But Big Mama could just look at you and you be just. And so I remember when I was really young, maybe like second grade, I started, really saying, I want to play the piano. So my grandmother, I don't know who gave it to her. It was like this really old Kenny. It was out of tune from the moment that we got it to the moment we got rid of it. Like out of tune, old ass piano. But my grandmother would not teach me. She says, you're going to learn how to play the same way I learned how to play. And she said, you're going to learn how to play on your own by ear. And
hmm
that's how I learned. And then I'd seen a movie that came out. I was in the sixth grade, so I started playing in third grade, But I always tell people now, when you're really young and you have an interest, you start to kind of just bang at the piano. Then
Yes.
those bangs turn into harmonies. Then it turns into full-blown chords, and then it turns into
Yes.
songs. And that was kind of what happened with me. But I saw this movie like in the sixth grade where there was a guy who was, I'm sure he was blind. He couldn't have been deaf, but he was definitely blind. And he could play anything he heard, anything. And I
Mm.
thought, I can do that. And then so much so that night I went home and I learned how to play Somewhere in My Memory from Home Alone. That was the
Mm.
very first song I learned how to play on the piano with notes. Um, and and from that moment forward, I really started teaching myself how to read music on the
Yeah.
piano. Because once I figured out where A was on the piano, I was like, well, oh, that means that this is B, this is C. And so what I did is I took little pieces of tape and I put them on the keys and I wrote down A, B,
Uh-huh.
C. And that was how I learned how to play. So in my life, I've never had, okay, I won't say I've never, I had one piano lesson, and that was going from junior high school into high school, and it was my godmother, and she refused to teach me anymore because I wouldn't use the right finger. She's like, I can't do it. You're like my child, and I don't want
Right.
to like knock you out because you're playing with the wrong fingers, so we're not going to do it. But I can play anything.
Yeah,
So
that's fantastic. I'm sure that
yeah.
helps with learning all this music that you have in your
Yes,
schedule.
yes, yes.
Oh my goodness.
It
Because
does. It helps a lot.
in Baroque music, there's a lot of black notes.
Yep, there is. There
So I'm
is.
sure that helps a lot with learning.
Totally. I always tell people the one of the benefits of playing is that unlike some people, like I can play through the entire score. It's not gonna be perfect because I'm not aiming for that when I'm playing. I'm just trying to get through it, so I can pace. So I can know the pacing of the opera. But I play through the whole thing, and then once I play through it like 4 or 5 times, then I'll call one of my friends to coach through it with me. But at that moment, it's really coaching. Like you're coaching me. You're not having you're not having so much to bang out notes for me. Like we're actually coaching the role, or then repeating it, just going through it with
Right.
style things and all that. So I think I want to say I spend less money because I can play, and then I just have them going over. Kevin is a prime example. Like I'll be like, Kevin, it's time for us to work. You know, I'm flying to Houston,
Uh
or
huh.
I haven't flown him up here yet to Wisconsin. But I was like, can you fly up here? I will fly you here to like coach this and stay for a week and coach and then go back home.
Now,
But yeah,
bear in mind, he's gonna eat you out of the house at home if
okay,
you
he sure is. I hope he watching. The other day, he was making like 2 turkey hamburgers. I was like, "What are you doing, sir?"
listen,
And
listen,
skinny.
and
I can't.
skinny.
I can't do it.
I
I
can't
can't do
either.
it.
I look at him and I gain weight. I can't deal with him.
Okay. I'm like, okay, go ahead, skinny man, eating these burgers. I was like, well, at least it's turkey. It's turkey. Ground turkey.
So, did you go to music school?
Mm-hmm.
Did you? Where did you go to school? Did you major in opera or voice, or
I
what was that
did.
like?
I went to Southern Methodist University, the Meadow School of the Arts, where I studied with Barbara Hill Moore,
Uh
who's an
huh.
African American soprano, first African American senior professor at SMU, first female, African American female senior professor. I mean, just amazing
Wow.
woman. Had sung all over the world. Studied with her, and I went there and I got my degree in voice performance, my bachelor of music in voice performance. Then I left there in '07, which is when I graduated from college, and I went to IU in Bloomington for
Uh
one
huh.
year, and I studied there with Marietta Simpson, whom I adore,
My
and I
silly big sister.
I love her so much. I did not like Bloomington, and I liked IU. I just didn't like Bloomington, and I've always been a person since I was very young. I don't know how I got this in my spirit, but it's just who I am as a person. If I don't like something or I don't like where I'm at, I'm like, I know in my spirit it's not for me. I'm out. And I remember leaving. I left there and I went and I taught high school and junior high school for a year and a half, choir and
Hmm.
voice, where I went to school. And then I went to complete my master's degree at the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music, where I studied with Karen Likes. And then I went from there to the Juilliard School, where I studied with Marlena. And I still study with all of them whenever I can see them. So, yeah.
That's that's amazing. We love Marlena.
I
Marlena is.
love Marlena so much. I tell you, I love her so much that when just recently, like in the beginning, not the beginning of the year, but last year sometime, I had come home and I had made a phone call and I went to go after Spiro passed away. I went and I spent an entire week just sitting at the house with her. That's all I did. I said, I'm gonna come and
Mm.
sit with you. You can't stop me. So I went up there and I sat with her. And I always tell my kids now, when I get old and I am, when I'm by myself, just come see about me.
Oh.
Come check on me. Come check on me.
I love it.
Mm,
So then, after all of that schooling, because you went to some of the best schools in the country,
yeah.
did you take sort of the traditional route and go right into a young artist program? What was after school looking like for you?
When I finished with school, actually, when I was at CCM, I finished since I was teaching. I kind of, which was very weird because I had gotten accepted to CCM and to IU both on a full scholarship. Like I was going to both places, but I wanted to go to IU. I had it in my mind, and I was like, I don't like Bloomington. I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna go to Cincinnati. But anyway, went ahead and finished that. Got to CCM in January of 2010, and back then they were on the quarter system, so it meant that I was starting
Mm.
late. And so it made me go all the way into 2012. But I finished CCM having gone to Santa Fe Opera, I was an apprentice at Santa Fe Opera in 2000, I believe 2011. At that same moment, I always tell people this little story. Nobody believes me, but it's absolutely true. And Jean-Minette Cillier, who was my pianist at the time and coach, she could tell people it's really the truth. I would email because I had intent, Kenny. I was like, I want management. I know I think I can get it. I'm pretty sure I can. And I want somebody to advocate for me. And so I wrote to every person that I knew had come to Santa Fe Opera. And I was like, I'm coming to New York and I'm going to be in New York for a little bit. I would love to sing for you. I had no plans to be in New York. But if they said they would hear me, I was taking my butt to New York. So I had management with Cami, Columbia artist, in 2011 before I finished my master's degree.
Wow.
My manager at the time was Damon Bristow, who was the vice president of Cami Vocal. And I loved every minute of being there. I felt special being with Cami. And then I went from there. So 2011, Santa Fe Apprentice. 2011 in November, I got management. 2012 in the spring, I did my first professional opera engagement with Portland Opera in Galileo Galilei. And then the next year, I went to Juilliard, and then, you know, for networking, went to the ADOS, and I started singing at the Met as a cover. And then just like Wolf Trap happened, then Dallas Opera. I mean, all these amazing things. Sullivan Foundation, Gerda Listener, Operalia. I mean, it just all started lining up. Carnegie Hall.
That's my favorite hall in the world to sing in.
Let me tell
I just
you,
love it so much.
it is amazing. And you don't know that it is until you get there. Like you hear it, like how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice,
Practice,
practice.
practice, practice.
You know, and I got there. I've sung there twice now, and that's even saying that. I mean, I get a little bit of get chills right now. Like I've sung at Carnegie Hall twice. Hopefully, I'll
Yeah.
sing some more there. But and then after that, I kind of did my own thing. I just kind of made my own way. Because I felt like I wasn't seeing what I wanted to see, or I wasn't being in things that I wanted to be in. And I thought, well, I know I can sing, and I'm going to create my own little avenue here. And that's what I did with doing my own show, my own big band and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden, I started seeing like everybody else starting to do, which I think is fantastic.
So was that a point of uncertainty or fear when you did branch out and started doing things that were outside of the operatic box?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have support from management, support from friends, family, advice? How did that come about? Because, you know, a lot of people who will have the track that you have, winning all these awards and covering at the Met and singing, you know, it's sort of a privileged operatic life.
It is.
And then you step out of that box and you want to express yourself in a different way.
Yeah. My desire came from me wanting to be the fullest expression of who I knew and who I know I am. And I knew, I was like, everybody that knows me, really knows me, knows what I can do. These people know a quarter or maybe a half of what I can do. I can do so much more. And I have to honestly say, when you think about fear or uncertainty, somehow, like it's the same thing like I was talking about earlier. I don't know how I ever got it other than being raised by my mother and my grandmother. There are very few things that I fear. Very few things that I am uncertain of. The most important thing that I'm certain of is who I am and whose I am. And so I knew without knowing, I was like, I'm just going to try. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But even in the moment, I wasn't thinking about if it didn't work. I can honestly say I didn't think, well, if it doesn't work, what's going to happen? Or what are they going to think if I do this? Are they going to think I'm done singing? No, I just did it. And I was happy that I did. And I think that in my doing it the way that I did it, it kind of liberated me. It allowed me to soar even more, because sometimes when you're doing something and you have a fear, you can feel the weight on you, like, well, I have to be great or I have to be excellent. Well, first, excellence is nebulous. Excellence means something different to me than it means to the person that's sitting in the audience. You know what I'm saying? So what I always tell my students and my mentees now is like, try to be better than you were the last time. That's just,
Yeah.
or try to at least be your best for that day, whatever that is that you have to offer. But no, I didn't have a fear per se. The fear for me was like making sure I learn the music and learn the words. But other, other than that, because when I first started out singing like the big band stuff, I used to always keep an iPad in front of me with the words, like just in case I forgot. And then subsequently, I got away from that. But no, I never had a fear about what people were going to think about me. Partially because I know that's not my business. You know, whatever people think about me is their thought. I know,
Yeah.
like I said, I know who I am and I know whose I am. And my endeavor, whenever I'm on the stage and whenever I'm in front of somebody, is to give them my fullest attention, to give them my focus, to be the most present, and to be the most authentic John Holiday that I can be. And
Yeah.
hopefully at that same time, giving someone else permission to be their most authentic self. You know, that's what I want to do in this world. Whenever I leave here, whenever I leave this plane, I want to say I have done something that has made someone else see themselves and what they were capable of doing. So I hope
That's
that I do that.
incredible. That is
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
Incredible. And
yeah.
that's why I think you're so special. Like, we talk about you, and we always,
Mm.
especially Karen and I, we're like, that man is magical.
Uh,
And
that
that
means so
man,
much coming from y'all. You have no idea.
no, seriously, and it's, I don't believe that it's something that can be sort of put on or learned, or that it's an act or something. It's just genuine, and it
Hmm.
reads that way, and it feels that way when people are in your company, when they experience you in your element on stage
Hmm.
in whatever genre of music it is.
Yeah.
That's something that is so, it's a gift. It's a
Well,
gift.
I have learned it from, I think, as a gay black man, a gay black Christian man, I've learned growing up in certain instances, um, how to hide myself.
Mm,
That makes sense. And then getting tired of hiding and just allowing myself to just be who I am.
yeah.
When I turned like 16 years old, I was like, I'm not hiding anymore. I'm just gonna be who I am. But it means a lot to me to have, I'm not gonna cry. To have y'all support, your love and encouragement. Like Angela Brown wrote to me after I finished the recital with Opera Philadelphia. She'd written on
Mhm.
someone's page, someone's post, and because I had written something, and she said, "Well, let me tell you, like you're incredible. Like what you're doing is incredible." And like I can remember the time when I first knew of Angela Brown. Like, oh, I was like, and I still am. I shouldn't say I was. I still am like enamored with her. And for her to tell me that I did a good job and that I was
Yeah.
amazing and that what I did was, so you don't know, and I don't say it just to say it because I do know that there are people out there who do that. I'm not one of them. It means to me the world when my people who have come before me, who are still in it, but who have come before me, who have opened the door for me, who have made a way for me. I think I wrote this to you the other day, like just to say, it means so much to me to know that I make you proud. It means so much to me to know that my singing says something and means something to you. Because I know if it means something to you, it's gonna mean something to somebody else. But that my music and my being, that my artistry speaks to you, makes my heart just like explode with joy and love and like everything.
And that's, for me, that's what it's about. It's like this sort of electricity that
Hmm.
for me goes all the way back to people like Sister Retta Jones and Marian Anderson and Paul
Yeah,
Robeson, like those people who open the doors. And then for people like that are in this documentary, like Leontyne Price
yes,
and Jesse, who like kick the doors open.
yeah,
And so I get a lot of my inspiration from them. And then so I feel like my job is to work hard enough to keep the doors open so
yeah.
that the future generations have it a little bit easier.
Oh
And
yes.
I would hope and believe that the generations before me felt the same
Same
way.
way. Yeah. And I think what's really beautiful about the time that we are living in is that we have a way more so. even though when you think of fame and like what opera was way back then, it's not the same as it was back then in terms of like opera stars were like you couldn't walk down the street. Now we can,
Right.
and people don't really know who we are, which I think is fantastic. But the
Yeah.
other part of that I think is great is that we have technology which is at our fingertips. So there's so many more recordings and so many more interviews
Hmm.
that you have of people where they're speaking about this. So now people can know like what really was the intent of John Holiday in 2020 or Kenny Overton in 2018, 19, 20. Like you have these videos and these interviews. And so it is important. I think I'm a firm believer in that as you climb up, you lift up. And
Hmm.
that's an important part of who I am and what I was taught growing up. I would never, if I can help it, I'll never leave someone behind. And I've always been a person, no matter if I felt like it was a person who could get a similar job as me or someone who was doing the same thing, that I would still help because I felt
Yes.
like that was just my responsibility as a human being. I always tell my kids, even when they come and it's somebody who's just coming to have an audition or somebody who's having a consult, I'm like, I love you already because you are a human being. You don't have to do anything to earn my love. You don't have to do anything to
Right.
impress me. You matter because you are you. And I hope that in my wildest dream, or not my wildest dream, but my biggest hope is that my work, my being, my doing will mean to someone, and I'll never know it. But if it'll mean something to someone like Derek Lee Reagan means to me. I tried to
Mm.
express that to him, and I was trying my best to not sound like a babbling fool, like I probably sound right now. But I was
No.
telling him I met him in a bodega by like just happened. It just happened, and I was like, "Are you Derek Lee Reagan?" He's like, "Yes," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then every thought about everything I ever wanted to tell him went through
Yeah.
my mind. And I was kind of
Yes.
like, I shouldn't tell him everything right now, but just tell him that I really appreciate everything he's done. Like, if there was no Derek Lee Reagan, there would be no John Holiday. There would
Hmm.
be, I mean, like, really. So I hope that my being and my work and my doing and my advocacy and sometimes my creative choices, hopefully it will add and open a door for someone or open a window or something for
Yeah.
someone to come through. And I think it will. I think it will.
I believe it. I believe it will too.
Yeah.
So, there are two places that I want to talk to you about, and I want
Okay.
you to tell me what was first your first feelings about hearing that you were going to be on the Mets roster, and then the
Uh-huh.
feeling that you were going to be singing at the Apollo Theater in Harlem.
Oh. Whew.
What are those
Um,
things like? Because I think for a black artist, they both represent gigantic milestones, gigantic pieces
Ooh,
of history. What are those two things like?
man, Oprah used to say there's this thing, joy rising. That's what it felt like. And it also felt like it's happening. Like that kind of thing. Like, oh my, like, holy crap, it's happening. Like, this is happening to me. Um, and I'll never forget, as my mom would say, I shall never forget, uh, the email that I got when I was getting asked to cover at the Met the first time. I was like, well, I'm going to cover? I know it came from Lenore Rosenberg. I met Lenore Rosenberg in 2011 at the Palm Beach Opera Competition. She was one of the judges, and I had placed as a finalist, and we talked between the semifinals and the final audition. And she's like, I really think you should audition for the Lindemann, and I think you should audition for the Juilliard ADOS program. And I said, to me, she says, and she laughed this huge, roarous laugh. She said, yes, you. And now that I know her, Lenore Rosenberg would not waste her spit if she didn't believe it. Because she's a
She would
person that
not.
she will not talk to you if she doesn't think that she can help you or doesn't think there's a place for you. Like, that's her. And the fact that she told me that, like, she really believed in me. So I knew that this opportunity came from her. And I remember crying, like, okay, I'm covering at the Met, like, oh God, thank you. Let's fast forward, because that was in 2000, I think, 2013 was Julius Caesar, David Matrix Julius Caesar at the Met. And I was covering the role of Nerino. And then fast forward to 2017, 017 with Opera Philadelphia. Their inaugural season of 017. That was their very first season. And we were workshopping this We Should Not Be Moved by Daniel Bernard Roumain, which was directed by the incomparable Bill T. Jones. And I remember them saying, well, they're taking this to the Apollo and then to someplace in London. We ended up not taking it to London, but we took it to Amsterdam. And I thought, we're singing at the Apollo? This is not real. Well, the lady who's over the artistic, well, I think she might be like not CEO, but maybe she's the CEO of the company. She wrote to me and she's like, would you come and would you sing for the upfronts? And I was like, of course. Like, I didn't even know what upfronts were. But that meant that I was going to go sing, like, for their season announcement for people to come and purchase tickets. So Don Lemon was the host. And I went and did that. So that was my first time going and just singing, like I sang Ombra Mai Fu, and then I think I sang something else. Then I went back to do the opera, We Should Not Be Moved. And there was a moment, because I didn't have time when we did the upfronts. The upfronts was kind of like an in and out thing. But the show, We Should Not Be Moved, having time there, I took a moment, and I thought my cast would probably think I was absolutely insane. But I said, is it okay with you guys if we just kind of lay down on the floor? If we were to lie down on the floor and put our ear to the floor? And the cast, they said, yeah. They said, let's do it. So we all lay down. We lie down on the floor. And I said, do y'all hear that? I said, it is all of the voices, all of our ancestors who are saying, well done, welcome.
Well done.
Welcome here. And it was one of the most spiritual things I've ever done. And almost, I shouldn't say almost, it is, I say it without fear, that it was more important to me than any hall I have ever sung at.
Yeah.
Whether it be opera or a concert work or recital, it was important to me because I saw the Apollo growing up. Saturday, I think it was Showtime at the Apollo on Saturday or Friday. I can't remember. But it came on. And so being there, and then I have to say, I've sung at the Apollo for the upfronts, for the shows, and we had 3 or 4 shows there. I went back and I did a gala there. I went back and I did a fashion show there for Oswald Boateng's show. And then I've gone back again a 5th time. I've been there 5 times.
Wow.
My recital. I was like, oh, I forgot. I had a recital at the Apollo. 5 times. I don't know that a classical artist has done that, number one.
I seriously doubt it.
But number 2, to have been given the stage. And then that's where I met Jamie Foxx, and I met Idris Elba, and I met Chris Rock, and Jadena, and Laura Roach, who's a fantastic designer, stylist. Everybody. And so for me, the Met is important to me because I think I am worthy of being there. You know, I've worked hard. I have done the work and continue to do the work, and so I think I'm worthy of being there. And so having the opportunity to make my debut there, hopefully next year in the spring, if we're back singing by then, is important to me. Singing the role of Nerino this time in the same production.
Yes.
But there was nothing better. There's something about when you are in a space that your people have created, that your people have contributed to, and who have been the standard bearers for, and you getting to add your mark to that and sign your name on the wall.
Wow.
Or that people there start to know who you are. There's nothing like that. So in many ways, the Apollo was probably, for me, more important than Carnegie Hall or the Met would ever be, because I just grew up seeing it. I didn't grow up hearing about the Met until I was in college. So that's
Right.
my long
Right.
answer to that. I loved it,
No, it's
and
a
I
great
feel
answer.
special. You know, let me, and I'll finish with this about
Mm-hmm.
the Apollo. When I went, the head of the Apollo, she says to me, "Welcome home."
Mm. Wow.
That's what that's like, and it is my home.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Amazing.
hmm
Absolutely amazing. Well,
yeah.
I am so very proud of you.
Thank you,
So, so very
thank you,
proud of you.
thank you.
And speaking of giving and giving back and celebrating, I remember back in December
Hmm.
when we had started the seed campaign for the documentary, and we were getting fairly close to the goal that we set. And I had made a post, and you sent me a note, and you was like, "How much you need?"
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
just sent it. And
I sure did.
I need to tell you publicly and to the public
Hmm.
that I am so grateful. I am so thankful that you thought enough of the project, of me, um, that you wanted to see us tell these stories
Yeah,
about our people. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so very much.
you are so welcome. It is my absolute highest privilege and honor to have done it. Um, I couldn't have not done anything. And I remember saying, and I was like, I'm not even gonna ask anybody else that I know. I'm just gonna be like, what do you need? Like, let me go ahead and push it over, and and that's what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to be the last person to do it, but I was just like, what do you need? Here you go. I mean, because these people that we're going to witness, who we've already witnessed in their greatness, and see
Yeah.
what their second chapter or third chapter is looking like, have contributed to the fabric of my life and the fabric of your life. And not only that, without knowing me, the only person that I know, I've met Simone Estes in the elevator, and I
Hmm.
sat because of Jean Minette, albeit, because she was very close to Martina, and still is very close to Martina, Miss Arroyo, took me to her apartment, and I sat down and spoke with her for like hours, I think. And I remember thinking, I am sitting down with Martina Arroyo. Whoa! And this was when I got management. It was when I first got management, actually. And I was like, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of honoring these giants in our industry
Giants.
who have shaped and been the fabric of me of my life. Leontine Price said the black voice is, or the spiritual is like the heartbeat. I believe that
Yes,
these singers are the heartbeat of so many of us that say you can do it, that
you
you are
can do it.
worthy, and we want to pass the torch on to you. We pass the baton to you. And then
Yep,
it's our job to keep on passing it and say, okay, here you go.
exactly.
Here you go. Keep on running the race and don't give
Absolutely.
up. No matter how much sometimes you want to stop, you keep on going. You keep on going and keep on pressing on.
And so your keeping on going has turned you into now an accomplished voice teacher. So you're
Hmm.
passing on the gift. And I always say it takes a very, very special person to be a teacher
Yes.
because we singers can be much at
Hmm.
times.
Oh, yeah.
And people
Oh,
ask
yeah.
me all the time if I teach, and I'm like, ooh, not quite yet, because I know what I put my teacher through. And I'm not ready. I'm not ready to self-inflict, you know.
Oh,
But what is that like being a teacher and shaping not only young voices but minds and hearts and musicians?
it is one of, in addition to my singing and playing, one of the greatest joys of my life. I will be the first to say I have not always succeeded at it. I have not always, and I think that a lot of teachers don't say what I just said because there's a fear of that. Oh,
No.
I can't say that I haven't. I've not always been able to meet each student where they were. I've not been able to always get to the heart of every student. But I love each of them, ones who have studied with me and then moved on to other teachers or they move on to graduate school. But I love fiercely my students. I I have learned through watching my grandmother and my aunts and my cousins what it looks like to be a selfless person and what it
Hmm.
looks like to admit when you're wrong or when you're doing something right. But the most important thing is to witness that student in action, witnessing and seeing a light bulb turn on. There is nothing like that. There is nothing like seeing a student who, when they came and they couldn't do something, and then you see them, the light bulb just turns on, and that technique starts to become really, really applicable in all of their singing. I absolutely love teaching, and it
Yeah.
makes me forget about myself. But in the same instant, it is informing my singing because you have to practice what you preach. I'm only
Yes.
35 years old, but I started teaching 5 years ago when I turned 30. Where I first met and heard you, but you may not even remember it. When you came to sing Porgy and Bess at Ithaca College, I was teaching then. I was much heavier than I am now, but I was teaching at Ithaca College then when Opera Noir came and they sang Porgy and Bess there.
Mm.
And I just love it. There's nothing like it. There is nothing
Yeah.
like it. And a good teacher realizes that you don't know everything. You're not afraid to be wrong, and you're willing to grow with your students because every voice is different. And you don't
Everyone.
everyone, just like everybody is different, every voice, every throat is different. Yes, the mechanics of it are the same, but
Yeah.
every voice is different. And so I've loved it. I love my kids. I will fight for my kids. I'll die for them. I want the very best for them. And maybe one day, hopefully, I'll get to share the stage with them. But even if I
Mm.
don't get to share the stage with them, I'll be like Marietta, and we will share the same dressing room along the way. When she was doing I think the older lady or old lady in God, I forgot what it's called now. Dang it! It's one where she has the hump in. Oh God, I can't think what it is. It's not Oklahoma. Jeez,
Not carousel. Is it
no,
a
not Paris.
musical?
It's a musical. Dang it! But she was doing this at Glimmer Glass, and you know the way they do the dressing rooms at Glimmer Glass. Multiple artists on different days they may share the same
Yes.
dressing room, and she
Yeah.
told me. She wrote me a text message. She said, "There is no greater joy that I have as being your former teacher to have shared the same
Hmm.
dressing room space with you." So
Wow.
even if I don't sing with my kids, I hope to one day share the same room with them. But more importantly than that, when it's all said and done, I hope that my kids can say that I taught them something that they didn't know before and that I showed them how to live. Because I know that teaching is not just about the voice, teaching is about so much more.
Yeah.
And I hope that my kids understand and get that because I try to teach them how to live and how to navigate life because it's not easy. And if anything other than that, I hope that they none of my kids can say I didn't try to be the best teacher that I could be, and that
Hmm.
they will say they also saw their teacher striving to be the best artist and a human being that he could be, and that I took chances and I wasn't afraid to fail. I'm afraid
Amazing.
to fail. Yeah.
Those are great life lessons
Oh, and they're
that
on here.
are.
I'm just seeing my kids are watching right now. So there you
Oh, that's
go.
great.
Hmm.
Hey, John's kids, how are you all?
Hmm.
So something fun
Yes.
that I know I enjoy, but I also admire in you is your fashion
Oh,
sense.
yes.
I love your
It-
fashion sense.
ugh.
So, what goes into what you choose to wear, when you choose to wear it, and where did that sort of self-confident self-expression come from?
My grandmother, my grandmother and my mom. My grandmother more though, but my because my grandmother, you talking about can dress back in the day. Big Mama could wear some really cool clothes. Big Mama and my prop, Barbara Hill Moore, they both AKAs, so were very very beautiful, and they knew to me that I feel like they knew and know they are beautiful. And just growing up around that, my mother was gorgeous growing up. Could have been a
Yeah.
model. She was super, super, super duper thin, super duper pretty, long, beautiful hair, still beautiful. In fact, my mother's birthday is tomorrow, so happy birthday, early birthday,
Happy
mama.
birthday, Mama.
And it came from them. I did not grow up thinking that I was beautiful. I don't have as many problems with it now as I used to, but I grew up thinking that I was very ugly. But I always knew that I had very nice hair. I knew that my mom had me in beautiful clothes and things like that. Now, as I've gotten older, I have felt more beautiful. I do feel handsome. I do feel beautiful. I just do. And I wanted to wear things that would demystify what people thought about what opera looked like and what
Hmm.
we looked like. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do that. And one of my role models, and also a brother to me, is like Solomon Howard. Solomon is just a
Yes,
dear, dear, dear friend of mine, and I thought I want to dress like that. When I
he is
first
too
started,
sharp.
he is sharp. He is sharp. I was a really, really. I mean, I've lost like 150 pounds over the last 5, 6 years. Like slowly, steadily
Wow.
left, lost it. And over time, even when I was a big guy, I always wore, I thought, nice clothes. But I knew what I wanted to look like and what I wanted to wear. So I started investigating what that looked like. So I knew that I wouldn't know what exactly to wear. So I got a stylist, which I considered to be an investment in me. It
Hmm.
made me not have to think about something. I was like, if I can pay someone to think about something and I can give myself more time on my music, I'll do it. Always. So I hired a stylist, Willie Johnson, and he's the guy that really helps me with my clothing choices still. And I don't know, I just love to play around. I love it. It's almost not, definitely, I've never done drag, but it's almost like drag. Like you're putting on things that you think will match, things that you think will go, and then sometimes
Yeah.
things that don't match, and you're just
Yeah.
having fun. And so I wear. I mean, I have like almost 50 pair of glasses. Have 100 pair of shoes. I have a lot of different clothes. Some of the clothes I wear the same things over and over again because it's what makes me feel comfortable. But I love fashion, and I just wanted to do something that was different. I didn't. I hate ties. And I will
Mm.
only wear them if I absolutely have to. It's one of the reasons why sometimes I don't like singing the Messiah because I have to wear tails. But now I've started wearing tails without a tie sometimes
Yeah.
if I absolutely have to. So I wanted to wear things that would compensate for me missing a tie, or not having certain things. But I just love fashion. I mean, I love it.
Somebody said, "Don't forget the hats."
Oh, and I love hats. I love a hat. So yeah, I have about 10 to 20 hats, something like that. Yeah.
Fabulous.
So
So,
yeah,
with our last 5 minutes, is has gone so quickly.
you got time. I ain't got to rush. However much time you
No,
need.
well, I mean, Instagram will shut you off
Mm.
at the hour mark. But what's next in these hopefully post-COVID times?
Hmm.
What do you want to see the world be? What do you want John Holiday to do that he hasn't done?
Mm.
What's next?
Oh man. Well, what's next is I mean, the fall is going to be pretty much open. I have now taken on a project. I can't really say what it is. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing some filming and things like that. But you sign like these NDAs, so I can't say anything other than that I'm doing filming.
Yeah,
And I'm hoping to demystify even more what opera singers can and cannot do.
yeah,
In fact, we can do anything. I just like what human beings can do. The sky's the limit, right?
absolutely.
Then the spring was supposed to be starting. I'm taking a sabbatical from school so that I can focus on opera. I'm supposed to be doing an opera, Utah Opera. They still have not announced it, which I understand. They probably are afraid to right now because not knowing whether or not they're going to have their season. But I was supposed to be doing
Hmm.
this title role at Utah Opera. Then I was going to go from there to the Metropolitan Opera to make my Metropolitan Opera debut, singing Nerino and Julius Caesar and David Vickers production. Then going from there to singing, we haven't announced it, but they have announced it, my very first Mozart opera and very first Cherubino with the Dallas Opera.
Yay!
And then have a little time off. And then I don't know if Opera Theater St. Louis has announced anything yet, but I'm going to go to Opera Theater St. Louis and do something in the summer. And then I have the fall off, and then I'm going to return to the Met in the fall in a production to be announced, which could end up being my Met debut if they don't do the Julius Caesar in the spring.
Right.
But currently they're planning to do that. But on top of that, also releasing my my album. I've been working and wanting to do an album for a long time, but I wanted it to be different. I didn't want it to be all opera, and it's not going to be. So I'm going to be working with some really amazing people. If I have to go in debt doing it on my own, I'm going to do it finally, and hopefully people will do it. And one of the things that I hope that I can leave for people is that for people to remember to be kind to one another. It doesn't cost you anything to be kind. And what I'll say is we are in a time where there's so much dissension that naturally happens. But I want us to be kind and remember that we're just human beings. And also this last thing, I hope that my music does for people what it does for me. And this is what it does for me. Whenever I'm singing, I feel closest to God. I feel the most pure. I feel the most free. And so I feel like when I'm singing that's what heaven feels like. So I hope that when I'm on stage, that my singing will open up that avenue and that door for other people. I hope that people get that. And I hope that people know how grateful I am for them listening to me because they don't have to. I'm thankful for them, and hopefully when I'm on stage, they are thankful for whatever joy I can bring them while I'm on stage or in my living room.
That is so beautiful, John. So how can we find you? What are your social media handles, website? Like, how do we find you? How do we keep up?
Please follow me at John. Everything is the same across the board at John Holiday Live. John Holiday Live is like my thing across the board. JohnHolidayLive.com. Twitter is John Holiday Live. Instagram John Holiday Live, and Facebook. So please follow me. I can't friend everybody, and I make a concerted effort not to. I only friend people that I actually know. But if you follow me, you're getting the same thing as my friends are getting, but and sometimes a little bit more. Just a little bit more. You get more hats and more champagne.
Hats and champagne. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it. So appreciate it. And I will be watching and listening and cheering you on and celebrating you.
Thank you. And keep on being who you are. I'm looking to you and how to navigate this career and how to navigate this path. And we thank you. We may not be able to say it enough because I think sometimes teaching and leading, because you're teaching and you don't know it, but you're teaching and leading, and teaching can be a thankless job. But I want to say thank you for being everything that you are, and thank you for being who you are, and thank you for doing what you do. I'm so thankful without ceasing for this road that you've opened to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, brother friend.
Yeah.
Take care.
You're welcome. Take care.
Stay safe, be healthy, and keep on giving us that gorgeous artistry that you already give us. We need more.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care, my friend.
See you.